Okay, so in this drawing activity, we are going to continue with the ball field chapter 6 exercise that we created where we set up the original drawing. And now we're actually going to uh, draw the ball field itself. So again, the assumption here is that you've been commissioned by local parks and rec department to go ahead and provide a layout for this major league size baseball field. So and just following along. If you don't have it open, like I do, go ahead and open up drawing ball field chapter 6. So you want to make sure the limits are set to 512 feet by 384 feet, and your snap is set to 10 feet, and your grid is set to 20 feet. So just as a refresher to remind you how to do that, I'll just type in limits. So we'll kind of move around, get our cursor up here. We'll type in limits. So bring that up. So I'm going to go ahead and set 0 tab 0 is the lower left corner, and then we are 512. Don't forget the apostrophe. Tab over then 384 apostrophe, hit enter. So that set up my limits. I want to go ahead and do a zoom all now. So we'll zoom all, bring that in. Our snap is set, and remember there's several places that we're going to set and could snap that. So I could go down here and click this arrow and go into my snap settings. This is one area. We can do the DS, which gives us the drafting settings, and I could get into it there. I could type it in here, or I could type it in onto there. So there's several different ways that we could get into this, but we want to go ahead and make sure that they are set. So snap is set to 10 feet and the grid is set to 20. And as you can see, my snap is set to 10 feet. My grid spacing here is 20 feet, so I'm good to go with both of those. So I'll just go ahead and click OK and exit out of there. Now I also want to go ahead and since I do have those snap and grid settings taken care of, I'm going to go ahead and turn both these on so I can actually be using them. Now, to begin the drawing of the baseball diamond, we're just going to use the line command and dynamic input. So we'll go ahead, line command here. Now, when we're talking about dynamic input, that's where you're seeing the where it says for specify first point. If I want to, here's my dynamic input. Notice that it's on. I'm going to turn it off. Notice now I no longer have that, and it's no longer telling me where those points are. So uh, dynamic input is a very, very powerful tool, and I think you'll probably want to be using that most all of the time. So, so the first point that we're going to pick here is 20 feet, 20 by 20 feet. And we'll hit enter. Notice that that's where it is. So coming up. Now, the value here of the foul line is 90 feet. So in order to get that with the dynamic input, notice how I've got that in with our snap mode and everything on, it's kind of picking and going right to it. So I don't really have to enter. You can see I can kind of just toggle right on through and it's getting me, can go 90. I'll left click, and then I can go right on up, making sure that I'm at 90 going this way, kind of going back and that click that way, and we'll come back and close it off, and I can go ahead and hit enter and cancel out of the draw line command. So that was really easy. Now, if I go back to my drafting settings here again, let's pull those back up. So that's what the next line tells us to do. And it wants us to turn on object snap. So if I go right here to my object snap tab, so we want endpoint, midpoint, and center. So those are the three that's clicked. Notice, let's just take a minute here and look at these though. So Notice the symbols that represent each of those. The endpoint of a line is going to be represented by the square, midpoint by this triangle, center, of course, will be the circle. You've got a geometric center, a node, the quadrant, so that's going to be your 90, 180, 270 degrees in your quadrants. There's the intersection, extension, insertion, perpendicular, tangent, nearest apparent intersection, and parallel. So these are all different object snaps that we could use, and we can turn these on and off depending on what we want and what our design intent is with some of these different object snaps. So for right now, all I need is the endpoint, the midpoint, and center. So I've got those on. We'll go ahead and close out of that. And we're going to do some construction geometry here to put the pitcher's mound in. So I'm just going to draw another line, and I'm going to notice how it's now picking up on that endpoint. Again, it's doing that because I've got my object snap on. If I toggle that off, it's going to kind of come in there with my object snap, but it's not as clear, and you might not pick up exactly what on the right one. So let's go ahead and make sure that that object snap is back on. Click from there, and we're going to go up to there and enter to cancel line command. Now, it is telling us that the pitcher's mound, or that we want to draw, is going to be at the center of it, and it's going to be a 8-foot radius at the midpoint of that line. So let's go ahead. We're going to create a circle, and we want a center radius. So come in here. So there's the triangle that represents the center of it. So go ahead and click there. And then again, at this point, all we need to do, it is a radius of 8 foot. So I'm just going to type in 8 apostrophe for the radius and hit enter. So, and of course they are also wanting the bases to be on there. So I'm going to put 1 foot bases so on each of these corners. So we'll do the same thing. So I'm going to select here at this endpoint, and this is just going to be 1 foot. Click. So now notice that kind of came up wrong. So I'm going to click on that, delete that out. Let's try that again. So we're going to create the center radius. So specify that point, and we want this to be 1 foot, enter. All right, come back up here, I right click, repeat circle, do the same thing here, 1 foot, enter. Now notice what's going on. I am actually left clicking when I go there, and it's picking up on some of the other things in there, so not a problem. Let's just go back and delete that out. Left click replaces the erase, so we'll go back to the circle, endpoint here, and again the radius is 1 foot, enter, repeat the circle, 1 foot, enter, and then down here at home plate, they're saying it's home plate is a 2 foot radius, so I'll right click, repeat the circle command, click on this, 2 foot, enter, and now I've got my bases, pitcher's mound, and the baseline. I no longer need this line, so I can delete that out of there. And now I'm going to kind of do the foul line. Uh, so in order to do the foul line here, that's going to be 240 degrees. We'll construct that first base foul line, again using the line command. Come down here, I'm going to click on this point, and all I have to do at this point now is just type in 240, Don't forget the apostrophe, feet, because that's definitely what I want. Enter. So notice how far out that goes. I can right click and cancel out of that. And I got to do the same thing. So I'll right click, repeat line, but now I'm going to do it up here. So 240 feet. So tab over to the 90, click, uh, and we'll cancel out that. So now I got my first base foul line, my third base foul line, and last it wants me to go ahead and use the arc command to, so we'll go over here to the arc. It's going to be a start, center, and end again. So this endpoint is going to be my start. I'm going to use the pitcher's mound, and we're going to go and finish it off right there. So now I pretty much have the outfield all lined up, the home run. So we will continue on. So when we still have the infield line to put in there as well. So we'll get that going as well. So to do the infield line, I'm going to do this a little bit differently. I'm going to turn off the uh, polar tracking here. So, and we're going to kind of use our um, coordinates to put this in there, get this taken care of. So as we go again, I'm going to uh, select the arc, start center, end command. Now, notice I got this object snaps still going on, so I want to turn those off for just a second. And now on that line, notice I've got, if I put the cursor directly on it, then I can kind of enter some of these coordinates. So this coordinate display is 140 feet by 20 feet. So let me bring this back, just move it. There's the 140 feet by 20 feet. So I'm going to click on that. Again, now I can come back over. So we'll toggle back on uh, so that I can pick up the center of the pitcher's mound, and we'll come right on back over. I'm going to zoom in so I can make sure that I pick that and pick that endpoint. Now, notice it kind of swept over it a little bit, so not a big deal. We can just kind of come right up here. We'll just trim that off, get rid of that. And there is my baseball diamond. I'm going to turn the grid off for just a second so I can see this. Escape out of the trim command. I'm going to add some color here and add, I think, a hatch. So we'll go with a hatch gradient. So, and I want to use a color, so I think we'll use the color green. We'll go ahead and put that here in the outfield. So there we go. Enter that. So we'll just create that solid fill hatch, and then we'll do it one more time for the infield. Only instead of green, we'll kind of, I don't know, this peachy. This is kind of a sandy looking color, I guess. We'll put that there. So, and I'll put it there as well. Hit enter, and now I've got that baseball field, baseball diamond all taken care of. So now's a good time to go ahead and go file, save as. So, and again, we want to save this as BallField Chapter 7. So although you guys should already have this saved, so you should just go file save instead of file save as, either way. So, and save that where you want to. And then lastly, I'm going to go right over here to my layout tab. Notice how that pulls that in, activates the actual layout, which is pretty good. So we're going to come down here once again. If I click in there, so we'll go ahead and get our viewport. And we've got our different model. We're in pretty good shape here. So we're going to switch this scale to the 1/64 inch equals 1 foot. That'll shrink it down. I do need to go ahead and we'll do a zoom all again just to get that brought into there. And there we've got our layout. Now this is exactly for the paper size that we would need to print that out on, and we're good to go. So that's how we create and draw our baseball field.